Hi guys, and welcome to a battle between myself in charge of the forces of the Wood Elves up against Phil and the mighty and scary Vampire Coast. So without further ado, let's hop in here and have a quick look at the build. So I've gone for something a little bit extreme, something that I don't often normally pick, and that is no front line. No front line at all. We have no combat troops on foot. So instead, in a replacement in our front line, we have 3 units of these Glade Guard. These guys, pretty decent range overall, can do some decent work up against the Counts. They can trade effectively up against those guns and bombers and so forth, picking apart with their decent range here. On either flanks, we do have 2 units of Deepwood Scouts with Swift Shiver Shards, 2 on that flank and 2 down here. Now these guys, not considered by most to be super competitive, but up against Vampire Counts, they can certainly pack a huge punch. They clear chaff very, very quickly, and also, have Stalk and all that good stuff, so they can sneak up on their opponents. These guys on this flank are going to be escorted by a Waste Stalk, coming in with the Arrows of Kurnos, and also a nice little buff for nearby friendly archers, which of course is going to be the Eyes of Kurnos, plus 10% missile damage is always pretty tasty. Now the reason I bring him is literally just for the Arrows of Kurnos, pretty much, so he can snipe out artillery pieces, and also, pick on squishy lords and casters and all that good stuff. In the deep reserve there, we do have 2 units of Wild Riders really hiding down in the back there, going to be trying to swoop in and get some great value. But as you can see, we don't have too much to protect all our ranged troops here, coming in with no combat, so instead we have brought 2 Great Eagles. These guys were going to be used pretty defensively, trying to counter any rushes and any of that kind of good stuff. And then for our Lordship, we do have the Glade Lady, of course. It only makes sense to have her in this build. She's going to be coming in, of course, with her Prey of Anath Rama, minus 22% missile resistance, and stops them from moving, which is just such a good ability overall. Nets in general give her great map control, and of course has Arrows of Kurnos as well, with the same intention in mind as the Waste Stalker. We also have a Spellslinger of Beast coming in with Flock of Doom and a Manticore Summon. Manticore Summon, once again, could be used defensively, or at the same time to, hop on artillery pieces and so forth. Now for Phil and the forces of the Vampire Coast, let's have a little look. In the front line here, Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs with polearms and the standard versions as well. Pretty thin front line, because of a couple of units in reserve as well. Then for his actual damage dealers here, he has 2 units of the Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob Bombers, which, if left unimpeded, can do some huge damage. So he's going to try and catch my front line on these 3 units and then bomb them down slowly. He's also got 3 units of the Deck Gunners. I don't see too often, but in this matchup, they can certainly pack a punch. They have pretty decent range overall, so they can counter quite nicely up against Glade Guard, Deepwood Scouts, all that good stuff. And they're going to be alongside a Gunnery Wight. As you can see, pops that Enchanted Ballistics, giving them plus 60 accuracy and 20 reload skill. In the deep reserve, we have the polearms. We have 1 unit of Mongols down here as well, who are currently in Stalk mode, and then we have a Necrofex Colossus, on the left-hand side, and Count Noculus on top of his own Necrofex Colossus on the right flank. These guys are going to be working as the artillery pieces and real backbone of this army. Coming in with the Wraithstorm, which is what you would expect, Arcane Conduit, Pit of Shades, Melkoff's Mystifying Miasma, Wind of Death, and Invocation the Heck, and Raise Dead, so a pretty full kit there, but it's coming in with Arcane Conduit as well to try and make sure you can get the most out of those spells. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. So as you see, we are going to be kind of trying to force our opponent into a little bit of a dip here and surround him in a nice curved shape here. And see the Arrows of Kurnos are unleashed at the moment. Just going in, it looks like they are currently going after the Gunnery Wight. Not too many good targets for the arrows, to be honest. And the early fire has got underway. So Deepwood Scouts initially starting to pick at the Necrofex Colossus a little bit, trying to just bait out some of his forces. Whereas the Glade Guard, some of them have taken a bit of a hammering from the Count Noculus and so forth on the way in. But the rest are going to be trying to target down the bombers. I want to delete them before they get a little bit too close. Now this could be a big problem for me on this flank. The Mongols have emerged from the shadows to pop on top of the Deepwood Scouts. So what we're going to do is simply counter-charge with the Great Eagle to pin them in place. And Mongols are actually a pretty good target for the Deepwood Scouts due to the Mongols' incredibly low armor values here. As you can see, we also popped in some Wild Riders into this back left flank, just trying to surround the Necrofex as much as possible and shut it down. And on the other flank, we're going to come storming in with this unit on basically a suicide charge, screaming death at the face of their opponents as they hop on top of these Deck Gunners before immediately annihilating them and going for the second unit. Now in a pretty deadly situation, my opponent gets some pretty decent magic on the right-hand flank. A Pit of Shades coming in and annihilating some of my Deepwood Scouts. Luckily their formation actually helps them quite here. Being a loose formation, they won't take too much damage, but there's still a little bit of miss micro for me that I do leave those guys in there. I was trying to deal with the Mongols over on this left flank. The Great Eagle doing a pretty decent job of that so far. Wild Riders did disengage from the Necrofex Colossus and going to be swooping into the back line to hop on top of these Deck Gunners. The other unit a little bit idle at the moment. My opponent finally starting to really see these guys are a big problem, so shooting them down and focus firing them with the cannon. So to retaliate, we've popped a Feral Manticore summon, the first of 2, and then we're going to be popping into the back line, just trying to ensure we shut down the deck gunners who we have netted in place so they can like escape the Wild Riders. The other unit has bounced into the bombers, doing some pretty decent damage, and you can see there's not too much pressure coming on. He doesn't have anything too fast, no dogs or any flies at all, so we're managing to keep a pretty decent shape throughout the majority of the battle here, constantly firing down into this death pit. Both the bombers are pretty much offline here. Great Eagle swooping in just to try and help finish off this second unit of them here. And with that, it's not too much of a threat. I know I can kite the zombie pride deck hand mobs if necessary. And we now notice the Necrofex Colossus on the left-hand flank, very, very isolated on its own here. So we're going to be swooping in with the Great Eagle, and these Wild Riders will be coming back as well, trying to finish him off. The Wood Scouts going to be doing their 360 no-scopes as they do fall back here. Just shooting into the zombie pirate deck hand mobs, not doing too much damage. But well, clearing them up quite nicely actually, as the Necrofex Colossus is slowly going down on that flank. All of the Glade Guard are back and active, constantly firing in. They should be able to do some really good damage here. So what I'm going to be trying to focus down is the polearms for the most part. Now the bombers are offline for the majority. I really want to take down the polearms, as a lot of my hitting power is in these remaining Wild Riders and also the Great Eagles. They're what I'm going to need to, take down the big nasty monsters. So I want to focus down any anti-large foes like these polearms and get them off the field as quickly as possible. In comes the Glade Lady, the Eagle and the Wild Riders, just to ensure that this Colossus does go down in a timely fashion. It does manage to scoot its boot away a little bit and still has over 1,000 health, but that won't last too long. The remains of the troops trying to fan out a little bit and push forward, but they are getting annihilated by the Deepwood Scouts. They're doing pretty good kills overall so far this battle. And even the Spellslinger Beast is starting to get in the action a little bit, dropping a Flock of Doom, just trying to help finish off the dregs of this force, as the balance of power does start to swoop quite heavily in favour of the Wood Elves. Great Eagles, both still active as well, which is not too bad in this late game. I could kite Count Oculus into the other realm right now because I still have a decent amount of ammunition on quite a lot of these troops, but I feel like the game at this point pretty much over, so we're going to summon a Feral Manticore and go in for the killing blow on Count Oculus. Not going to try and drag this out too much. Gary White does finally start to force his way forward. I think this is something my opponent needed to do a little bit earlier on. He has huge armor at 120, and I of course don't have any Way Watchers, so I don't actually have huge armor piercing potential. He could have been a good pincushion to take in a few shots, but it looks like with a couple more magical volleys coming in with the Deepwood Scouts there, Noculus does fall, and it's going to be victory for the forces of the Wood Elves. So let's go to the end stats there, guys, and have a little breakdown of the army. So, a very risky army, which I literally just played this probably about 30 minutes ago, so I've only tried it one time, haven't tried it since yet, but I'm certainly going to try it out in the future. Not realistically sure how viable it is. If there is a good matchup for kind of no front line, it is up against the coast, as long as they don't bring scurvy dogs to chase you down. But at the same time, you have the Eagles to try and counter those, and you hope you have enough range to deal with all your opponent's nasty guns and so forth. Wild Riders pretty damn key here, getting in there, only 49 and 58 kills, which isn't huge when you come up against the coast, but they managed to shut down the nasty deck gunners, who are doing a pretty decent job actually of annihilating the Glade Guard overall. You can see this poor unit only got 9 kills, they'd have to fall back for the majority of the battle. But Glade Guard 101, 89, and then 50, 70, 60. Almost another 60 there, just slowly racking up those kills and annihilating the opponents. But yeah, pretty fun build overall, possibly quite frustrating to play against, I'm not really sure, but Phil was a true champ, and real good sportsmanship as well. We actually met twice on ladder and had 2 super fun games. Right guys, hope you did enjoy. If you did, please do consider giving it a big old thumbs up and all that good stuff, and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more Total War Warhammer content. And if you want to see your replays on the channel, get involved in tournaments that I host, King of the Hills and all that good stuff, I do have a Discord just down in the description below. You can join there and send me replays. So the main plan for next week is I've had a load of really great replays sent to me over the last couple of days. So on Monday, I'm going to try and record 3 or 4 replays in one go, maybe even 5, and then they'll be uploaded over the week to go alongside streams and all that good stuff. But anyway, guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.